Welcome to another episode, a live episode of Goose Chicks Podcast, an all women led show focused on the band Goose and the community that supports them. We are so excited today. One of our dreams is coming true. I'm going to pull the girls right on stage because I want to talk about that part of this before our guest joins us. Hey, everyone. Chelsea, Hannah, Alexius, how are you doing?
So good. So excited right now.
Good. I'm good. Sorry. It's first day of school starting back, and my brain, I feel like I'm starting back with them.
I love it. I love it. I know back to school already down here in North Carolina for sure. Well, today we're really excited. We have an extra special guest. Goose's tour manager, Sam King, is joining us in just a few minutes. I wanted to just talk about why we're so excited. The very first meeting the four of us had to talk about doing this show at all, Sam King was the one person that all of us were just determined to speak to and so excited. So I just wanted to really just go around the horn real quick and just like why was that important for each of you? Hannah, I want to start with you.
So I guess for me, growing up, I didn't see a lot of girls and women in positions of power, especially in the music industry. So anytime I see that representation now, I geek out. And then also just thinking about like the little like tween teenage girls, like Alexius's daughter's age, like at shows, and knowing that they see that representation, I'm like, dang, like they're going to grow up and be tour managers or boss bitches or whatever. So yeah.
I love it. Chelsea, what about you?
Yeah, I think when we were talking about the show, a lot of it was about highlighting women's voices, and the fact that a woman is, Goose's tour manager was just huge to us, and just like we see these amazing women doing amazing things and wanting to highlight that. So I'm super excited to hear more from Sam about that.
Yeah, for sure. Lex, how about you?
Definitely. The same thing that Hannah and Chelsea were saying, definitely having daughters and, wanting to show them that we can do this, that we can follow our dreams, and just being a photographer back there and just seeing that there is not much of a female representation. And if there is a female representation, most of the time it's behind, like way, way, way behind the scenes. And so that was always very important with me, was that we can do this, that we can all help each other, and I think that's a great thing about Sam, is that she's very open to, to different things that I've read that, about how that she does things, and how just talking to people and just trying and making those connections with different people and just seeing how that we can do it. And that there's someone out there that can be a mentor towards us. And it's just very exciting. Sam is an amazing person. She's very quiet. You don't hear much about, you don't see much. And so I'm very excited to be able to get Sam and, and it just be Sam and it not be anyone else with her, it just be, let's be all Sam, because she is a badass bitch. And and I mean, think about it. She has all those guys, everyone else, and like everyone answers to Sam. Sam is the woman.
Yeah, so we called this show Big Boss Energy because that's, for me, watching Sam work at shows is so inspiring, because she leads with such confidence, but also such, compassion. I can just see how much she cares for everyone, but also like she's moving with a purpose and, command and direct command of everything. It's really a beautiful thing to watch. Well, let me just do a quick intro and then we'll bring Sam right on. Sam's first experiences in the music industry were in artist management. Working for up and coming artists was the only way to gain traction and stay ahead of the curve. She began tour managing her sophomore year at the University of Southern California, doing coursework on flights between shows. By graduation, she had years of experience in artist management, complemented by a growing knowledge of tour management. Since then, she's traveled across the globe, delivering full production shows and flawless hospitality. She has also developed her own style of artist hospitality and has been recruited by festivals, venues, and artists of every genre. Her diverse experience gives her a 360-degree understanding of an event and allows her to create the best possible experience for everyone, going the extra mile and exceeding expectations for artists, crew, and fans alike. Sam has been Goose's tour manager since 2021, has worked with acts like Spafford, Skrillex, John Anderson of Yes, and many more. Welcome to Goose Chicks Podcast, Sam King. Hey, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks so much for joining us. As you could hear before you jumped on, we are all really, really excited. It's like a culmination of a dream we've all had for such a long time. So thank you. I know you're super busy and we're so excited to have you here. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
How are you doing? How are you doing today?
I'm great. Yeah. We were chatting earlier, but I just got back from some, personal travels, not work travels. So just trying to catch up on the work side of it now again as well. But yeah, it's been nice to have some time off. We've been slammed the whole first half of the year. So it's nice to just breathe.
You haven't had a chance to breathe. So I'm glad you got to take some personal time. Yeah. That's amazing.
So where were you? How did you say the name of that? Like, all those pictures were just insanely gorgeous.
Yeah, I went and hiked in the Dolomites for a week, which is like the Italian Alps. And so I went with my, good friends from college and just ate and hiked and didn't try to open my computer at all. So it was great.
Oh, it's the best. Yes.
Love it. That's amazing. So as we heard in your bio, just how early you got started in your professional career, which is amazing. But just to pull back a little, because as Lex says, a lot of folks may not know too much about you. So we're excited to let people learn a little more about who you are. Where did you grow up, and what are some of your earliest live music memories?
Yeah, so I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's funny because there's now there's more of a scene, but there really wasn't a live music scene when I was growing up. We had one venue, Riverbend, and it was Rascal Flatts and Wiz Khalifa every year, and that was it. So I went to those, but yeah, I didn't go to a ton of concerts growing up, and we had my kind of plan of escaping Cincinnati, and I really wanted to get to LA. It was to help not known artists kind of be in front of a stage, because we had this free concert series downtown that I would go to because it was free, and being a high school student, I didn't have a lot of money, so I would go and see these mashup artists and Cam Meekins and Hoodie Allen, all these kind of young rappers, and so I wanted to go to LA and find a way to get artists in front of people and fans, kind of how they did in Cincinnati. And so I just kind of wanted to do anything I could to get to LA. And then once I got to LA, there was a huge music scene there. So then I went to tons of shows and got really into the electronic scene, and really dove in there. But young me was oh, I want live music, but there's not a lot of it. And so, kind of found my way there.
Another Ohio resident, or
It's so sick though, an Ohio girl going to Cali, and I'm gonna do this because we East Coasters are made fun of a lot, or we're not made fun of, but just the difference between the East Coast and West Coast, and how you went out there and you did it, and that's always super exciting because people don't believe in you. I've figured that out through photography. You have this dream and you have this vision of what you want to do. And then, people they'll say that they're supporting you, but it's not as, you're excited, you're talking about these things. And then they're just okay. And then once you get there, they're oh, you did it. I can't believe you did it. So did you have any kind of experiences like that? Was your family full supportive, or, was it back and forth on that?
Yeah, I mean, they've always been super supportive. They didn't really understand what I did, but I also kind of started it in college, and they didn't really come to a show until, because it was electronic, they weren't going to come to a 1 a.m. club show. Right. So they came when I was I think they got it when they came to my first show when I was tour managing for John Anderson, because I was oh, this is your speed. You can come out and, it's an early show. And they love coming to Goose shows now too. And they're great, because they'll just as you guys have probably seen me at a show, I'm just constantly going, and I'm I can't speak to you, so they'll just sit backstage and kind of watch and be do your thing. So I think they get it now. But yeah, I mean, it's always been kind of what do? You just go and party at shows? I'm no, you don't get
That's
it.
what everyone thinks. Oh yeah, you're partying at shows, and you're not at the show, maybe later, maybe a little bit. And And actually, like when you're on tour for so long, it's exhausting. That's not actually a part that, you know, you might have a party here and there, just celebration, but it's definitely not something that's happening every single night. Like there's definitely that misconception.
I mean, you're at work, right? It's fun for us, but you're actively working, and it seems like a pretty all-encompassing position to have with so much under your purview. Can you tell us a little bit about how you started working for Goose?
Yeah, so coming out of COVID, actually. So I started working with them in 2021, in May, and it was kind of like they were jumping up and going into bus touring, and they kind of just needed someone that had experience with that. And so I got connected with their manager through a girl that I had worked with previously on a different tour, which is like how you get most jobs in the industry is like word of mouth. And so I interviewed with him and then interviewed with the band, and then hit it off and started a couple weeks later. So it was a very quick turnaround and onboarding and getting up to speed. And I had never heard of a jam band, and so it was a lot of like learning and growth to start.
Wow, that sounds like almost breakneck speed. What was that adjustment like, and what did you think of the jam band scene as you started getting, you know, immersed in all of us wild, crazy people out in
Yeah. The hardest thing for me, like still to this day and now it took me a while to figure out the songs, because, you know, it's like we're in minute 8 of a song and I'm like, is this still, I don't know. You know? And I remember on like when we did the Tab tour, like because we would have Trey come and sit in with us every night, and I would have to make sure he was there ready to walk on at that time. And they're like, okay, was coming out like after So Ready, and was like, okay, well, it's been so like I just like I always had him there like 5 to 10 minutes early, and then felt bad because then he was waiting. But I'm like, you know, so it's like the timing took me so long to figure out and like learning the songs. But yeah, I think that like onboarding onto any team, it's like, especially the crew until that point had been together for, you know, a very long time and like done this crazy growth together. So it was like acclimating and also like becoming accepted and, you know, getting this like growth or, you know, leadership position where people trusted what I had to say and the plans I had and all that. So it was like you know, dive in with a plan and strategy, but also like taking the time to like learn personalities and make sure everyone kind of like, you know, is in sync. And yeah, that can be a long process as well.
Yeah. Chelsea?
Yeah. General workplace adjustments, you know, really. But you're talking a little bit about that they grew before you even started, but since then in 2021 there's also been tremendous growth with the band. So what would you say is most different when you're thinking about to when you first started till now?
I mean, sheer size, I guess. Like we've added, you know, when I started we were like one bus and a Penske truck, and one of our crew guys was driving it, and now we're up to 2 buses and 2 trucks, and have you know, added a good amount of crew. And so it's, you know, the role itself stays pretty similar, but like the people that, you know, you're delegating to different people and you're working with new people and having to grow according to what you need. So we've added some like key crew members that have made things easier and made people more like honed in on their roles, which has been, you know, nice. But yeah, I think just like size of shows and guest lists and all that.
Just like everything's scaled up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm picturing like a little tree underneath you when you started, and then like just this immense like that the tree's just like grown so many more branches, and yet still all reporting to you. So I just commend you for even managing that process for the band, because that's a tricky place for a lot of artists to be in, you know, managing that growth and hitting the expectation of the fans, but also growing in a way that's sustainable for the crew. So kudos to you, because you made it look pretty darn easy out here. You know,
can I ask a dumb question? If the growth becomes so big, do touring parties have multiple tour managers? Like, how would that work if,
Yeah, so it's basically you kind of just keep like delegating even more and more. So, you know, a huge scale tour may have like a tour director and then a tour manager under them. But like as it grows, and we're kind of like getting to this point here is like if the band and the crew starts moving separately, then it's like I would kind of have like a right hand that's handling all the crew movements, and that's a position I've had before on the road as like a production coordinator of you know, that person is at the venue with the crew handling their movements so that like the tour manager can be with the band. So you kind of like will split it off that way. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, huge level acts would have like a tour director, tour manager, road manager who's just dealing with the artist and their posse, production coordinator. You know, you can have like heads of all these different departments that are then like having more responsibility. So, you know, you look at like even in our growth and like people that we've added, we've gotten, you know, more people under the lighting subset. So then like Getty has more people reporting to him, and then like audio. So then like Eric, like it's like people have their own little trees that keep growing as well. So
that's so cool.
Excellent. Lex, I knew you were going to talk about something you saw in the Grateful Dead doc with Sam.
Sorry, it was muted. So, yes, I did. So last night I was watching and I've watched it a few times, but you know that last night I was watching the Grateful Dead. What's it called? I can't remember, but it's on Amazon. I think it's like Long Road Ahead, and so I was watching that for the 1,000th time. And so the Grateful Dead manager, tour manager, Sam Coulter, was talking about how being a tour manager was like taking everything that's thrown in your direction and everything that everyone needs, that's your job, that basically it's more than just getting the venues and doing this, that you have to make sure every single person's thing is met. And so our need is met. And then also for the band. So not only are you trying to do what's right for the band, but you're also having to get the band members on board with it, you know, and because certain ones will have different attitudes and you know, like, well, I don't think that's important for this. And, you know, then another one might be like, well, yeah, this is important. And so he was talking about how it took him 18 months to get them to even do a photo. And he's like, guys, you don't understand. Like, you know, we need a photo. And so, and because it was so important. And he said it was such a task. And so after 18 months, he finally convinces them to do that. And I was like, wow, you know, just the little things that we don't see that you have to do and that you're trying to get done. And then all the other people that you're talking with and, you know, trying to get those things done. But, let's see. So finally he convinces them. And then I don't know if y'all know this story about how like they really didn't want cameramen there and stuff. So no one told the crew not to drink anything, not to drink or eat anything from the dead. And so it was a really funny, their first documentary was really funny. And I know Goose isn't like that, wouldn't do that, but do you have like a funny story that you could share or something, you know, something that's been difficult for you to try and get all of them to come on board, or just like a funny story of the guys in your position and trying to get them to convince them that it's their idea and it's a great idea and that they should do it? Because that's tends to be my experience with men, is that if it's our idea, it's not a good one, but if they come up with it, it's a great one, you know? So is that like something that you have to deal with, or, you know, what's been your biggest obstacle or a funny story with the band?
I think my biggest like constant struggle, which probably is not a surprise to anyone that goes to shows, is getting them on stage on time. It's been like every tour it's a conversation, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna like, because it's not only, you know, the fans, but it's local crew, and it's telling the promoter, and it's like there's a schedule.
Yeah,
right.
And it's like being in this position, and like any position where you're kind of working with like a creative and an artist, it's like, okay, let's look at like the venue, and we're here to do a show and all this, but you're also like, they need to be in the right headspace and like the set list, and they want to, you know, they're going on stage in a good like mind. And so it's like this balance of like, okay, 10 minutes. And then like, okay, well, the set list is like not, they're still talking about it. And then it's like, okay, like 10 minutes, like we need to go. And so
the soft 10 minutes, the hard 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like this, like all the crew, it's just this running joke with the crew too. Cause you know, it's never really been like, we have to shorten the show because we're cutting up against, like, the band like gets it and they do like really care. And it's, when it is like when it's they're going on late, it's like there's a reason and it's the set list or whatever. But it's just I'm so time oriented and like, you know, it's
you have to be. Yes.
So and I think it's personally, I think it's getting better and festival sets are always on time. But yeah, it's been a hilarious thing that
who's always ready? Who's always ready first, Sam? I have an inkling, but I'm curious what the answer is.
Good question.
Ben is always ready.
I knew it. I said it's gotta be Ben. I know he's just standing there waiting for everybody to come out.
Yeah. And then I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, well, it's funny because like sometimes it'll switch and it's like everyone's ready and then it's like someone disappeared to pee and I don't know where they are. Someone, you know, it's
right.
5 different cats. But yeah, that's just a funny thing that, you know, that's just never gonna change.
I've accepted what has happened. I think that was probably the thing that I noticed the most about being backstage at Residence was that, you know, you were keeping eyes on like each one of them and, you know, you'd have your mic and you'd be like, okay, 5 minutes, everyone, you know, and I've got this one, we're walking this way, everyone be on this side, we're ready to go, you know, 5, 4, 3, and just, so you can definitely see that that's a time thing. And we as fans know, like, or we should know that is a thing, that getting in the right headspace, because even us as fans, like waiting, the anxiety that comes of just like, some people take it way overboard and like, I've got to get in this spot and this spot. And I mean, their head will just be blown off if they don't get the exact right spot. So I guess that's definitely something that we understand and should understand and think about more often. And I know that you feel the pressure on that because you're like, this is my job, guys. You're making me look bad. Like, stop it.
Well, you know, it's like you talked about delegating. It's like one of the things delegated to you is time management. So of course, you know, so they don't have to worry about it. They have you doing that worrying for them, so they can do all the other stuff that they do, which is significant. And I can only imagine when they met you, like a huge weight was just like, oh yeah, she's gonna get us straight. She's gonna get us together. So I just can just imagine the like breath of fresh air and just like sigh of relief. Like, whoa, this thing's feeling unwieldy. We don't really have a full tight handle on things. And then here you come to kind of put everything in line. Hannah, I wanted to turn to you.
I still think though that this conversation sort of just speaks to my theory, which is that boys take way longer to get ready. Because most of the time when I'm at shows, it's with a big group of guys that I've been friends with since college. And like, I'm always sitting there waiting for them. And I'm like, you guys, like, doors already open, you know, like we're going to get there in the middle of set 1. So I feel your struggle, but maybe not as nearly as much pressure. So my question I have been thinking about is, you lead a crew as tour manager and it's mostly men, right? And so has that always been the case throughout your career?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the music industry in general and like specifically live music and touring is like very male dominated. And I think a lot of tours I've been like, it's either just me or me and one other girl. And like, wow, you know, you're not only just like working with all men, you're like sleeping and like living in a confined space with all men. So it's like, it's definitely like the energy is there. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten really lucky and just like having great like guys and great men who like are supportive and understanding and like considerate, because like that's like the cleanliness and like all that. I think like being in a shared space is like people kind of get it. And I've also been like really lucky in like learning from like my 2 kind of like mentors and people that brought me up were like really badass girls in the music industry and like commanded respect, and like they taught me a lot about like, you have to walk in with confidence and like not, overcompensate in like what so that the confidence comes through and like no one can really sell you short. And so I think like those two things combined, because like a lot of people that I've like heard stories from have had like different experiences that like wore them down, and not so great experiences with like male figures in the industry. And so I've gotten pretty lucky in who I've worked with.
I think you've also worked hard for that, though, like reading the Goose Times article and what you have done of, this is one thing that I love, like, just cold calling people, just giving it, like, hey, I would like to know about this. I'm going to try and, see if I can get a cup of coffee with this person and learn some from them. And a lot of people don't do that. And there's so many people that are willing to sit down and geek out with everyone. And just, yes, they want that positivity. When you have good things in your life, you want to share that with others. And so I thought that was really cool to read about how that, and that you still to this day, that you still reach out to people and want to learn more about people. And I think that also makes a better person in general, a better manager, I think Tim Getty and the girls and I were talking about it one night about how that even when Getty's off, that you're off tour, that he's going to Nashville or someplace and, going and lighting and checking out, just trying to improve what he's doing, how he can improve it over time. And so, and what you're doing band wise, band connections are huge. And I think that's such an inspirational thing that you got this done by sophomore year of college. So you don't have to answer this at all or anything, but did you end up graduating, or did you just know so much by that point that you're just like, all right, thank you so much, college, peace, I got a lot of connections and I'm out,
No,
so.
yeah, I sticked with it and graduated. And honestly, like when I graduated, I'd been touring for like 2 years, but I didn't really know much at all, like in the grand scheme of like everything. Cause I had been with, done the electronic scene and not done like a full bus tour yet. We were just doing, like I was doing fly dates Thursday to Sunday, basically. So I would do class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, fly out for the weekend and do club shows, college shows, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it was like busy,
and then back at school Monday.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, and then
that's
after
intense though for 2 years, Sam. That's like,
yeah, it was hectic, but I mean, I was also lucky. I switched into the music industry program at USC, and they were super like understanding of, making it work with my schedule, because I was out in the world doing it. And that was like a big thing as well. But yeah, I mean, I was like, I'm still learning a lot. Like I ended up like working for this DJ for a while and then kind of leaving, because I kind of got to a point where I was like, I need to go and like learn more and feel like I'm growing still.
Yeah. Hannah?
I love what you said about like just having that confidence. I met you once at a show. You probably don't remember it all, but you had so much confidence. So I can just say that like you exude that. But I always tell my students, because I'm a professor, I always tell them, like when we're talking about gender and stuff like that, that women should, try like basically act like you're a middle-aged white dude. You know what I mean? Have that confidence and just go in there like you own the room. But I was just curious, like, because you talked about the female mentors that you had. So I kind of had two questions. One, were there any women in this field that you admired, like when you were growing up, like sort of to see that representation? Because we were talking earlier about how representation really matters in male-dominated fields. And then you kind of touched on this a little bit, but if there's any specific challenges you or your friends have experienced as a woman in a male-dominated field like this, and also one that's like, I would imagine it's a little competitive and like cutthroat too to get these positions.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, growing up, like I didn't really know that this was like a role, honestly. Like I didn't know much about tour managing when I was like young or anything. And then when I was like working shows when I was like 19 and 20, and I was like this young girl, and like it was all like, it's funny because there's this kind of like gap in tour managers, and there's like a ton of like amazing, like have been doing it for a while, like tour managers in like mid 30s to like 40s, like now. And so they were like young 30s to mid 30s when I was like that age, and they're all super tight knit and like, you know, a lot of guys, and they just like kind of hit each other for ideas. And so I noticed, like, because I was doing EDM shows and we were opening for a bunch of different artists, and I just like kept seeing this people that knew each other in this group, and I like, it felt so hard to break into and like relate to anyone.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even like, and so I actually, and I there was no one like my age really doing it. And so I had this like this girl that I was kind of like assisting, that was a tour director, and she, you know, she helped me and taught me a bunch of stuff. And like I even like recently, like I still just felt like that there was that gap. And like even, you know, up until like 2 years ago, I was like, there's this really tight group and I'm friends with some of them, but like never really like in that posse or group.
Yeah.
And I actually had coffee with one of the like an amazing tour manager who's like been doing it for the biggest names like in the world. And he was like, yeah, there is this like huge gap. There's like people that are our age, and then there's like not many people that are like your age and like around there and doing it. And like he named a couple of like my friends, and it's like, you guys need to like stick together and like form that thing, because like we took all the jobs, and like, you know, there wasn't that many people that like came into this industry because like there wasn't that many jobs around. And so I think like one of my like things that I want to do now is like keep finding these people that are like around my age, because it is easier to connect to, and you have the same like life struggles and like, you know, outside of work kind of things going on. And so I think that it's not only like the female thing, but the age thing was always like a big, you know, felt like a gap for me.
I think that's significant too, in terms of like what challenges that exist in the industry now versus when some of those older folks were coming up. You all have a unique perspective of just like how the industry is moving, what's happening, because you've been living through it. So yeah, that's exciting to think of, like this younger generation or newer generation of tour managers kind of linking arms and being like, yeah, we're gonna get our stuff together and we're going to have our own, you know, best practices and ways of connecting and sharing information. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I think,
of course, you would be right on that. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think also like something that like is really important for like younger people that want to do it and like came out of COVID was like, it used to be so closed off with like sharing any information or like, you know, talking to people, like, and over COVID, like all these touring people didn't have anything to do. And so all these, like, there was this awesome podcast and like YouTube series that was like all about tour management, and these awesome people came on, and people just like became more open and like willing to share information. And even now there's like, I'm in like a group chat with like all these tour managers, production managers, and just people are like, it like made people come together more. Cause I think like, it's easy to like think work is like your whole life. And then when that's stripped away, you're like, oh, like, I don't have actual like connections with these people, you know? So it's like, I think that now the barrier to entry is like maybe lowered a bit because one, there's all this information out there now, and two, like a lot of people left after COVID, and like there's a lot of people looking for positions now because everyone started touring again.
Yeah, it's like the floodgates open, and I think even more. We've been talking on the show a lot about, feels like there's a jam-a-thons happening right now, in large part due to Goose, and certainly relevant. And that it just seems like there's so many acts out there on tour right now, and how beautiful it is, how lucky we are as fans to get to be able to see so much amazing music right now. But thanks for the tee up there for my next question, Sam, which is, we know how all-encompassing Goose is for all of us as fans. We can only imagine the large place that the band takes up in your life. What are some ways you've been able to kind of sneak in some sort of Goose life balance for yourself?
Yeah. It's funny because I just sat on a panel at summer camp and they asked the same question, and it was like, you know, earlier on this year, and this is actually something that I like have struggled with and like have like really made an effort to work on, is like just in general work-life balance. And like I think, you know, because being freelance, like if I'm not touring or like doing work, like you don't have income coming in. And so I previously, like, you know, in the last 2 years was doing remote tour management for other acts, and we're doing festivals and working shows and like out just trying to like come home and keep working. And I never really like took a mental break. And and I got to a point last year that I just like fully burnt out. And so I think that like now I'm just like trying to make an effort to like actually disconnect when I come home, because it's so easy to just like, all right, we're done with summer tour, let's start advancing fall, let's start booking hotels, let's start, like there's always the next thing. And so I think that like being like, okay, no, I'm going to take a breath and like go and travel or go do something personal and like not work for a sec is like so important to just like refresh. And so I'm like definitely, it's like, making an active effort to like not be stressed out and like actually allow yourself to relax is, I mean, important for everyone, but like easy in this industry to just like
Keep
wear
going.
yourself down.
Just like run. Do you have like, this is a side question, but do you have like tour nightmares? Do you dream about shows? Like, what are some ways in which this sort of like sneaks into your subconscious life a little bit? I just been thinking about how stressed I would be just around the time management piece. So does that happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, on the road, like I'm always waking up like, what could go wrong today? And like bus stops were broken down. What do I do? It's like constantly being on. And so I think when I come home, it's hard to switch that off. And so I'll wake up and be like, okay, I need to advance these 3 things and I haven't heard back from this person. And like this hotel rate is going to be more expensive in 2 days. It's like my brain is just insane in that way.
Yeah.
And so it's like trying to turn it off, because on the road like you are always on, and like at any moment if something goes wrong, it's like on you to fix it,
to figure out what needs to be done.
And so like realizing when you're home, it's like, okay, well, this person doesn't need to hear from me in the next 5 minutes, like they'll be okay if they hear from me in like an hour.
Exactly.
And so it's like
or tomorrow they'll be okay if they hear. And I completely agree with you. And I'm so thankful that you brought, that Leslie, you asked the question that, that was brought up, because that's something that I think that all of us are having a difficulty with, that I've seen in the Jamly, of how do we balance life, life, work, all of these things. And one thing that I have found is I put my phone on do not disturb for at least 10 hours a day. So that way at nighttime, I'm able to get sleep without my phone pinging and dinging. And then when I wake up in the morning, that I can wake up refreshed and not having 1,000, you missed this, oh, you missed this, oh, you missed this. And because those anxieties that are just so in there. And now it's just, now with technology being at our hands all the time, and then work being able to get in touch with us, it's like it never ends. And so I think that that's very important, and I appreciate you saying that, and saying how important that it is to disconnect and for a little bit, that everyone will be okay. They can wait that few minutes. That's something in this time that everyone feels that we have to give an answer immediately. And if you think back about it, in 1920s, if someone proposed to someone, it took them, they'd be like, okay, get back to me, and it might take them 2 or 3 months to answer the question. Like they never expected the answer immediately because they needed to think through it. And I think that that's caused a lot of anxieties in our lives. And I think that there's a lot of things that we can all work together on to try and lessen these instead of the technology coming over. But so I don't know how much more time that we have left, but
we got a little bit of time left, I think.
Okay, cool.
Chelsea, I know you had a next question.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. So, on Instagram. So I saw this post you posted a while back, and it was during tour. And I think Leslie's going to pull it up, but there was 2 moods. And so there's 2 different photos that go with it, if we have it. But on the one, you have sunglasses that say Check Master Tour on them. And we are wondering, what's the story behind that?
Yeah. So Master is basically this like, it's like a standard across music and across touring. And it's basically like how I get all the information to everyone on the road. So I basically, reach out to venues and getting like all this hotels, ground transport, and I put it all into this app on my computer, and then everyone has it on their phones, and you pull it up and it has the schedule, where you're staying, like what time you need to be in the venue, bus call, like I basically try to like any question that someone could have, it like you can find the answer there. And so it's kind of this like running joke of like if someone comes to ask me a question, I'm like, okay, like if did you check Master Tour? And like because if I was answering all these questions all day, like I need to actually do work. And so it's like if I don't, it's like a time and place. If like it's actually like someone just doesn't have time to check, then it is what it is. But yeah, I think that it's kind of a running joke of like I make a big effort to put all the information there. So like, do you want to check that first and then come and tell me if you still have a question?
I love that.
I love that.
That's what I thought it was when I saw it. I was like, I think this is, exactly what you just said. And I'm like, that is such a relatable, just like workplace thing for, especially for people that are like managing others or like, coordinating things where it's like, it's all there. It's all there. Just look. So I thought that was fun that you have classes that say that because that's such a mood.
Yeah.
I would be like all the time just like wearing them.
Come on.
Yeah.
Did you check? I say that to my husband. He'll be like, I can't find this thing. I'll go, if I find it, can I punch you?
Yeah, right.
One more time. Let me check again. Yeah, check again because it's where I told you.
Yeah.
I cannot remember what venue told me that you were the best tour manager that they had ever dealt with because you made sure that everything was, weeks before you got everything planned out, made sure everything was good. And then as you got closer, making sure like as vegan food, as, what's this and what's the best thing. And so you were literally every single little teeny tiny logistic that you were making sure that you had, and you were the logistical master. So,
yeah, speaking of logistics, so much is coming up for Goose. Fall tour is like around the corner. Europe, Goose Mess, maybe a new album or two, who knows. How long does it take you to plan out these tours as tour manager? Like, for example, when did you start putting your mind around what's going to happen in November in Europe, and what did like the early stages of the processes look like for you?
Yeah, I think it's largely dependent on kind of like if it's just like a normal US tour or like a big show, or like Europe is a different animal.
Sure.
Because like normal US tour, it's pretty plug and play. Like we're carrying all our own gear, 2 buses, 2 trucks. I mean, you pretty much have to reach out to get buses like a year out. So as soon as I get dates, like I'm getting buses.
A year out, really, Sam? They're
yeah,
taking that quickly.
Post-COVID to get like a good company and like a good, a decent bus is you have to get it pretty far. It depends, like summer, yes. Like it depends on the time of year. But in a big show like a Goose Miss, it's like where we're not on tour and we have to bring in production and we have to, hire more crew or whatever. It's like I could be involved before the show is even like confirmed to make sure, this is what we're going to need. And they would bring in like Eric, who's our production manager, and they'd be like, how much are we going to need in PA and lighting so that they can like negotiate the deal correctly. And so that'll happen for like, a big headline show, big festival. Europe was like, okay, we need to like completely like blank slate because, it's smaller stages, not as much production, taking all our gear versus renting it there. And so it was like, I didn't, I had to look at it and even be like, are we going to be in a bus? Are we going to be in splitter vans? Can we take train? So it's like, I had to figure all of that out to even just like secure a bus. And then, so I've reached out to venues. I mean, I must've started in like February or March before, anything was announced or anything like that, just to like, how are we going to do this on this scale within these parameters? Like, how many people are we going to need for, what size vehicle? And so that was like a different, once we do it once and then grow from there, it'll be more kind of like the US touring, but just doing that for the first time and like how we have a lot of stuff. And so like, how are we going to make it fit basically is the typical question for this band.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff on that stage. I mean, honestly, between Jeff and Peter alone, so just the sheer number of instruments that end up on the stage amongst the 5 guys is significant. So yeah, I'm excited for Europe. So it's gonna be a good time. Lecture me. Go ahead though.
Not even what's on the stage. I mean, like, what's back with Eric and Getty and all, like, all the other things. It's just boxes on boxes on boxes. And, it's absolutely insane, and just how much stuff that y'all have, and then thinking about how small the little European vans are or their buses, and so it's just like, oh, we're gonna have to double this for that, and very so I do have one question. Do you have a show like I have a show wife that I go to shows with, and obviously we know that I'm married and everything, but do you have a show spouse or a show I think Eric and I were talking one night, and he's like, Getty's my show husband or my work husband and stuff. So do you have that with your crew, or are you just single and on your own and running it all?
Yeah, I feel like it's a tricky line to balance. It's like you have to kind of like be able to, you can have these great connections and great friendships, but at the end of the day, like if someone needs to change what they're doing or like do something, you're still need to have that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's like I have really great relationships with a lot of the crew and band, but it's still having that line of like, okay, but these are the roles. And like I've had in previous like tour management, I was tour manager, day-to-day manager, personal assistant for someone, and it just got to be too much of like we were also great friends and hanging out outside, and it was like, okay, there's this line is not here anymore, and like I don't feel like I have like the respect, or not respect, but like it's just not, doesn't feel like that role.
The boundaries are being crossed nonstop.
Yeah, I think the like I have great friends on the road, but like having that boundary there is very important.
So note to everyone, keep your boundaries. That's why I'm always trying to say, I'm like, and especially in our group, and thankfully we're really good about that. Like everyone's got their lane, and I'm like, as long as we all stay in our lane, and that's where it makes it work better, and or makes it work easier and flow easier. Like they used to say before, like Trevor was the business guy, Trevor was the driver, and so Peter was the one who was getting the nugs and the band camp and those things up. And so just everyone had their lanes and stuck to them. And so that's always a good thing and very important. And in life and in friendships and everything, people, by the way, boundaries are very important. So
super important. Absolutely. Yeah. What types of things are you getting into on this break, Sam? And how much longer do you have off? Or you have a couple weeks still, I hope, still? Yeah.
Yeah, we have like about a month actually.
Nice.
So we ramp up in mid-September again, and then we're pretty much out for the rest of the year. So I'm trying to I moved to Colorado recently, and so just trying to do like day trips from here and see a bunch of music and get up in the mountains. So just a lot of like nature and hiking and stuff to really like.
Are you going to see fish? Are you going to fish?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to fish, and it'll be my first fish show actually. Which
really?
Is
fun. Yeah. It's not just me.
No, it's probably not just you, Lex. I think it's a unique thing about Goose bands is that they're huge fans of a jam band, but don't know very many other jam bands. So
yeah,
I think it's a great cross pollination. All right, Lex, I know you had some round robin questions for Sam before we let her go.
I do. So another question, since you're listening to music, were you able to make it to who was it the other night that was there? Naveed,
Pretty Lights.
Pretty Lights. Yes.
I wanted to be there.
No, I just got back from Italy like so I missed the ones at
Dylan.
I should have gone to Dylan. I do regret not going to Dylan, but I missed the ones in Denver at what's that venue?
The Mission.
Yeah.
Mission, right.
But I saw it was amazing.
But I'm sure you were exhausted at that moment. You're just like the exhaustion takes over, and you're just like, oh, and then later you're like, dang it, I should have gone. So, okay. So just a few round robin questions just to learn about you, and not just you and the band. And, let's see, we've already gone through those. So what is your favorite genre of music? And you told us earlier that jam bands, that Goose was like your first. So we know, so jam bands was not your favorite coming in. It was not your favorite genre of music. So what is your favorite genre of music?
I did. The jam band has grown on me definitely, and I think like I also because I went and helped Rick with all the Phil Lesh and like all the Dead stuff, and we've done so much Dead stuff that I've been surrounded by that music,
I was
and
going to
so
say
I
you
think
could
like
have been fully immersed. For sure.
yeah, and so I think now I do like that a lot more, and also just like working with like working in this scene and where there's so much focus on instrumentation has like given me a respect for that in any other genre. So, even going to live shows where, in the past I wouldn't really pay much attention to like a guitar solo or whatever. Like I'm a lot more tuned in with that.
Right.
But I think like my personal favorite is just kind of like indie rock kind of stuff like that. I like to go see. Like I think like my favorite bands are like Mountjoy and Camp and like people like that are kind of just like nice, like indie,
Vibey.
chill,
Yeah.
vibey music.
That chill vibey. Yeah, that's so awesome. What's your favorite band? Did I ask that one?
Yeah, I mean I like Mountjoy and Camp, who I mentioned. There's this like up and coming band out of they're out of Montana. They grew up in Colorado Springs, I think, called Richie Mitch and the Coal Miners, and they're like I love them right now. They're great.
I'm gonna have to write this
know that.
down. Richie Mitch. Okay.
They're kind of like similar to Camp Mountjoy vibe, but yeah, that's kind of like I like to listen to that kind of stuff.
I've been listening to a lot of Mountjoy lately, and they're coming to St. Louis soon. I'm like, ooh, should I go? So
they're a great live show. They're playing Red Rocks this week, so I'm gonna go see them.
Oh, sweet.
They're an awesome show.
You're so lucky, Red Rocks that's so cool just to be like, oh yeah, this band's coming around. I'm going to Red Rocks. What a joy, what a blessing. That's so awesome, and a way to help keep balanced. And so let's see. Ladies, y'all, any other questions? I mean, I have more. I was just trying.
Do you, when you go to shows now that you've been running this huge machine, do you look at it from a tour manager's eye? Is it easy to kind of break that when you're going to shows wherever you go, especially venues that you've managed bands performing at? What's that like, sort of switch?
Yeah, I mean, there's that I can't be in real crowds anymore, like tight crowds. I think just like seeing it from the other point of view, that's like something that it's unfortunate because I used to do it all the time, but I just like can't really do that. And I think going to a show, like I pay a lot of attention to production and like how they're hanging things and how the sound is. Like if the sound is not, like if I'm not in the right spot listening, like it'll bother me, so it's like those things. But I can definitely disconnect it to like really enjoy a show.
I didn't realize you were from Cincinnati. The crew that I go to shows with, we're the Cincy Trash crew. We have pins and slaps and stuff like that. So you don't have to wear it if you don't want to, but next time I'm on the road seeing Goose, I'm going to try and get a pin to you that says Cincy Trash crew.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, me and Jeff is also actually from Cincinnati, which is like originally he lived there for like 2 years. So we have like a running the Cincinnatians of the road, which is funny.
Ohioans are everywhere. I'm from Columbus originally, but my best friend is from Amelia, Ohio, so that's why I'm always in Cincinnati these days. So
yeah, that's great.
That's awesome. So do you think, okay, so we were talking about traveling and those are things that you've loved to do. Do you also think that traveling has helped, because we both know traveling internationally, or we all know traveling internationally, that, that there's a lot to learn and you are learning it quickly. There's no way that you can look everything up and figure it out. You're just thrown in the moment and you've got to figure that out. Would you say that is something that has definitely helped your being a tour manager, of just, having to figure it out, because you're just in Italy and doing things and, yes, you plan your day to go this way, but we all know in Italy it's not going to go this way. We're going to try for it to go the best as possible. And as Americans, we don't realize that other countries actually do take time to give themselves mental health breaks, and get a little nap, get some good food, and so do you think that your traveling and those things have also helped benefit you being a tour manager?
Yeah, I think that, going and kind of experiencing different cultures and like understanding people do things differently and being like more open to, how someone else operates and the pace of different things in other countries is like not only helps when you're going international, like with a band or just, personally, but like helps day to day and like interacting with different people. Cause, there's even like you were talking earlier, East versus West Coast and like the South. It's like people just do things differently in different areas, even of the US. And so I think like going and getting world experience and like for anyone in any job is like helps you be able to work with different people in like your day to day in general. And yeah, I mean, for sure, like going and being thrown into Europe and realizing airports do not work the same over there and trains do, trains, all that. And you're like, okay, you just realize that like I would never have a layover less than 2 hours for a band in like any European city, where like here it's like an hour, so it's like you just, the more experience you have in the world, you can like, relay that into travel for work as well.
Right. I've been trying to, I lived in France, and studied. I lived in France and went to I can't remember the little town in the Netherlands, but there were just so many differences, and so I've been trying to like tell the fans that are going to Europe, and some are like, oh yeah, we have this much time, and I'm like, I don't think that you understand that you really don't have as much time as you think you have, that you're going to be able to do, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we're going to take the train, we're going to do this. And I'm like, I don't know if I would, only on certain like closer, like in England and stuff. And that, not being like a, just trying, I'm like, I don't know, we might need to do an education show one day on like how, because a lot of people haven't been outside the States, and so this will be their first time, and then navigating it through things. So this is going to be it's going to be an awesome eye opener. And I think that was one thing that was one of the parts of the long road on Amazon that I was watching last night, and them talking about, their first trip to Europe and how that went. And so I think that's going to be a great fun thing to watch and to see how it goes. And I know budgets on first things, I don't personally know, but I can only imagine. I build bridges, and on a DOT company. So, always having to look at the logistics and making sure this is going to be here on time and this is going to be here on time, so that the bridge can actually be built and it, be in price range. And so it just, knowing that, and knowing it being the first tour over there and so much smaller venues, I can only imagine that, certain things have been cut for certain things to work on the schedule. And so, so I think that all of us, with me saying that, everyone record their, record everything they can, get video, put it into a Dropbox, so for years later that we can have these moments and look back at it. And because, we don't know, we'll get over to Europe. You know more than we know. And, but it's going to be a fun experience. And another thing just popped into my head. What was your favorite show so far this year?
Like a Goose show?
Uh-huh.
Which one? I think my favorite like moment, where was this? Oh, in Nashville, was the April Fool's Day show, when we were like thinking about a prank for like ever, and then we finally like sat down and I was like, oh, I have this like funny idea. And they all dressed up like each other and came out and played different instruments. And
So good.
I mean, that was like probably my favorite moment at a show, like maybe my career.
It was
hilarious.
They got so into character. Was it hard to get them to like actually get into
they were like
really
all into it, and it was funny because like we were all like kind of upstairs and one would go in the bathroom and then come out and everyone would just lose it. And then it was like when Trevor came out as emo Rick, and that was like one of the funniest moments of my life. So
I was like like the hardest thing. I was like, how is Peter not gonna smile? Like no expression. I just was like, did you decide who was gonna be who, or how did that go?
They did it. They kind of decided amongst themselves based on like who felt comfortable playing different things. And then we did the outfits from there. And the outfits was like the fun part. It took a while to figure out how to get Rick to be bald, and I didn't end up working very well. But yeah, so it was like they all nailed it. Like it just like kind of shows like how multifaceted and talented all these guys are, that they could just pick up a different instrument and like go for it.
Just like that, that was, and I mean, like legitly, Rick was legitly drumming, and that's what I was like, this is not just Ben doing Jeff's, and backing up for Rick. Like, no, Rick was legitly drumming, and it was, and that was an amazing moment to watch, to be there, to for everything. And then what was the other there was one other
I think it also speaks to how much time y'all spend together, because like even the mannerisms and facial expressions, they like they nailed it. Like, I was like, wait, what's happening right now?
There was like a mini roast in each performance, sort of. It was like I wanted to, that they each were gonna pull out, the consistent things of each of their personalities, and especially the way they are on stage, because that's a specific thing, right? It's not just like a behind the scenes thing, but how do they act on stage, which is
everyone kind of has their thing, like the one thing that you could say, and they all like pulled on that. It was really funny.
That's awesome. I swear I have one last question, and then I'll let everyone. I have just hogged this. I'm very sorry. I absolutely think the world of you, and have just been so excited to get your boss bitch on here. And so, in the lovingest way possibly, respectfully. But so, how did y'all all keep from losing it with Animal being on the stage? Like, I was waiting, like, just trying to watch, like, I wanted to see Trevor, like, I would love to see those side moments that people have of not just like what was on the screen. Like, I would love to see. I saw Peter cut up a couple of times. Rick was definitely like, he was definitely cut, just like, just, grinning. And that was all. You could see that Rick was very much enjoying that. And that was not one of those like, that I've got to rip it, I've got to shred it, like that we're all enjoying this in the moment. And that was a beautiful moment. And so it's very, very exciting to watch. But then also I'm over here wondering, I'm like, how are they not losing it? Like, I would be crying. I would be laughing so hard. It was so awesome. And what an honor too, to have Animal come on and play Animal. That was really cool. Was that their idea, or was it just a collaboration, or how did that go?
Yeah, it was kind of a collab. I think that the Muppets and Newport have had kind of like a thing where, because they sat in the night before and all that. But yeah, so honestly, like it came together, and like we really didn't know how it was going to go until we had a rehearsal the day of the show. And even in the rehearsal, it was like, yeah, you could say this at this part, you could like do this at this part, but like I don't know. And so like a lot of it was very organic during the performance, which even was even funnier, because they didn't know what was going to happen, and he was just kind of yelling, and it was funny because that stage is just so tight. And
I was going to say, it's such a tiny stage there.
Yeah, before they went, it was like riser to riser, like everything was touching. And right before they go on, Peter's like, can you get some, like Instagram stories of Animal performing? And, it's a big thing. You can't see the performer at all in it. So I'm like, yeah, of course. And And then I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna do this because it's like there was no space. So I was like the whole song trying to like figure out an angle that like you could see him, but you couldn't see behind. And I ended up just like running down to the pit and you couldn't see. So I was like, I didn't even know what happened. I went back and watched the show because I was just running around trying to get a video and ended up like on the side just trying to lean over and get something. But yeah, it was I think it was like a really like awesome moment for everyone because it was, you know, they grew
I
up
don't think I've
watching
seen that many people on the sides of a Goose show, but till this show, I was like, whoa, it's like 50 people deep. And I also remember I saw Padge like peek out with his camera, which you never see. You just don't. Padge is one of those, he always says to me, like, if you don't see me, that means I had a good night. Like, you're not supposed to. And so it was funny seeing his head pop over. I was like, oh, this is really special because everybody was just having such a great time up there. Well, Sam, thank you again so much for joining us. Honestly, this has been amazing. Just thank you for everything and for all that you do to keep this amazing band on the road and us happy campers in the audience. We really appreciate it and hope you have an amazing month off, and we'll see you out in these Goose streets for sure.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great to
don't
chat.
forget, no plans next year. Me and you, La Tomatina in Spain. Seriously, 100%. So, but awesome. Thank you so much. You're amazing and such an inspiration to all of my daughters are upstairs watching it and they're super excited, super duper duper excited. And my youngest, Ara, she's like, I have to meet Sam. And her first show was at SPAC and she was expecting she was going to get all the treatment like Sky got at Charlotte. And I was like, okay, in Charlotte, they were way smaller. They, you know, what they were, I mean, they were still a great band, but it was smaller. And I was like, and SPAC is the biggest show to date. So honey, I don't think that you're going to get the same, you know. And she's like, well, as long as I get to meet Sam, I really want to meet Sam King and Sam Ray. She's like, I really want to meet both of them. And she's like, and Peter, and you know, she starts singing, not singing, but saying the rest of them. But I just thought that it was, you know, her first two were women, and you know, and her was just like, and when you meet her, you'll be like, oh, she's a little boss herself. You know,
Spitfire, that one. She's so funny too. I love
she is. So
all right, Sam, have a great afternoon. Thanks again for joining us. We're so blessed and so thankful. Don't be surprised if we tap you again post Europe because we definitely care about some behind the scenes of those shenanigans as well.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Wow. Well, again, thanks again to Sam King. As we mentioned at the top of the show, this is something we've all been really looking forward to since we even came up with the idea of Goose Chicks podcast. So really a dream come true show day for us. Let's get into our regular segments. We're gonna kick things off with the how did we get down, and we wanted to talk about Everything Must Go this week. We haven't done it yet. Everything Must Go debuted October 1st, 2022. It's coming up on a year in Atlanta at Pullman Yards. It's been performed 12 times by Goose and 2 times by Arabelo. We haven't done this like breakdown in a while, so I'm kind of excited to talk about a song. First, like we usually do a round robin, like what do you get from this song? What are the things that kind of stick out for you? Chelsea, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I love this song so much, and I really want to do it today because we've talked about it in our group chat, like just amongst us, and I think we all have like different thoughts on it just according to our own experiences, and so this is really interesting to me. But to me, Everything Must Go is it's really a calming song in the way it sounds, but to me it's about like going inward, like through meditation or some other way to connect with yourself. And like the title Everything Must Go to me means like releasing past beliefs, so just like letting go of whatever you thought or what you wanted or whatever expectations, and just like coming back and coming to yourself and connecting with yourself or something higher or bigger than yourself. So
I knew you were going to say expectations.
That's a big one. Like that's a big one I've learned in my life that has actually helped me a lot with my anxiety, because now I don't try and control things for an outcome because I don't have an outcome in mind. So
Once again, y'all. Our
The Empress.
Empress.
Yeah.
were we going to talk about lyrics, or did you want me to?
We are. We'll do a round and then we'll come back to lyrics. Hannah, what
Okay.
about you? What's your big takeaways? Like, overall watching.
So I think, what Chelsea said about the title really speaks to me. But then also we talk a lot about how a particular song will hit you a certain way based on what you're experiencing at that time.
Yeah.
And so at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023, I was breaking up with a long-term partner. And so thinking about Everything Must Go, like all those expectations of what my personal life is going to look like and what things are going to look like for me at this relatively new, quote unquote, dream job that I started in South Carolina. And so definitely that song coming out during a really rough, sad breakup impacted me, especially because it is about finding love as well. And so this idea that, okay, if I just let go of these expectations and I let go of what I thought my life was going to look like with this person I was with for, 6 years, then I can still find love in other places and in other ways. And maybe that's not even always romantic love. And so like Kelsey from Jive Leaf Design and I, we had a special moment when this song played at the Cap Run. And so she texted me the other day and was like, I'm listening to Everything Must Go. And like, I knew exactly why she was texting me because of that moment we had. So
love it. Everything Must Go is Drew and our Goose song. So we get very lovey-dovey, especially at the very beginning. We have like a little ritual we do with each other. And for me, it's such a song about connection and a deep desire to stay connected, even when that's not an easy thing to do. And so that's one of the things that I always take from this song every time I hear it. It's like, pushing through when it's not easy to stay connected, but being committed to that connection nonetheless. And, you're right. It doesn't have to be about romantic love. It doesn't even have to be about love with anybody else. It could be about self-love as well. But that it's present and it's something that you're actively working on. Unbelievably, we were there the first night it was played, and I've been on the rail for 10 of the 12 times that Goose has played this song, which is weird because somebody else was talking about how they haven't heard it a lot, and I'm like, I feel like I hear it all the time. And then when I look at the numbers, I was actually, Michael Basie was like, you've seen it a lot, it's not that common. You just happen to catch that song quite a lot. So and
they play it for you and Drew.
They do. They play it all the time. I feel very.
That's right. They love y'all. They do. They love y'all so much. It is so sweet, and I absolutely love it. And so Everything Must Go is y'all's song.
Yes, it is our song. And it's because it was like, that was the night Michael Basie told me about that secret thing where if Rick's guitar is missing, we're probably going to get a first time played. And that night we walked into Pomayar's and he like hits me and he's like, Rick's guitar's not there. We're probably going to get a freshie tonight. And then they played Everything Must Go that night. So it was just like, I already was like hoping for a new song. And then this was the song that played. It was just like everything coming together, like so many other magical Goose moments. Lex, what about you? Like, what did you think about the song when it first came out? And what do you take from it?
So I was with you. I was there when it premiered, and I've had different views going back and forth on it. And I love that song. I absolutely do. And as we all know, I've had a huge emotional roller coaster. Who knows where I'm on it at the day, health wise, emotion wise with my sister. And so I feel I feel that this is love, and that this all is love. And I feel that this is, for me, an inspiring song that everything, not everything stays here, that everything must go, and we don't know when that time will be. And I know it doesn't have anything like this, but to me, it also is, let's see, can you imagine a universe, or all that you can imagine, a universe with a view, almost like you can have a getaway for you. This is love, sweet signal from above, warms my brain, and now I'll never be alone. So for me, the way that I take this, and y'all, that I take my sister's ashes with me everywhere. And to me, this is I'm still not going to be alone. Like those times that I feel her, she is with me. And I know that she is with me a lot. And so for me, this is mine and her song, like that we are always going to be together, that just because that separation, that we're not physically here side by side. I believe in angels. I believe in spirits. I believe in that. And I believe that she is my angel spirit that is here helping guide me, and that even things that must go, that we still can be together, and that we can still find those ways to be together, and also let things, we've got to let the bad go to have the good in. And so there are certain things that we do have to let go, even though that's devastating, that she's not with us, that she's not with me, but she is with me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes, the empress over here.
No, I love this. Actually, it's funny because I'm going to turn to Chelsea next to talk about lyrics, because I think there's a lot of synergy in what she's going to talk about and what you just said. So Chelsea, I'll turn to you. Lyrics and what you pick from them.
Well, yeah, I think what Lex is saying, that's pretty much what I'm talking about. Is to me, it's about connection and connecting with something bigger than yourself, or your higher self, or your angels, or whatever you believe. But I think that's important. And like you said, I'll never be alone again. That's just talking about that connection. Like even when you feel alone, you're really not alone. There's something there guiding you, something bigger you can connect to. But the lyrics that I think a lot about meditation with this song. It just reminds me of like when you meditate, kind of how you feel. And so part of the lyrics that I focused on a lot with that is when they says, a future when you need it, you can teach these lights to dance, finger on the trigger, you've got magic in your hands. And to me, that's about manifestation. And you have the power to manifest what you want your life to be. That's connecting to your higher self. Like you have the power in your hands, the magic, a future, talking about manifestation, picturing something. You can teach these lights to dance. Like you can make anything possible that you want to be in your life. You have that power. So I think for me, a lot of it goes back to that manifestation meditation. But really it's just about connection, like you said, Leslie, with anything, a person, yourself, and just believing in yourself. So
yeah, for sure. Hannah, how about you? Lyrics that stuck out that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, so Lex already pointed out the one part that just really speaks to me as far as like the breakup that I mentioned. So I want to talk about something else. First of all, we love Ted Honks and everyone who contributes to that. That's usually who we'll look at whenever we're looking at lyrics to analyze and all that. But there's a point where in the song, you say you want to live forever, play a little game with me, that part. And I love that part of the song. But the way that they have the lyrics on Ted Honk, and like they even say like these are unofficial or unconfirmed lyrics. Yeah. They say, walk a little, take your spin, let it out, let it in. It's a legend. And I swear, when I hear this, and I've listened to multiple versions and played this little tiny section on repeat before, especially gearing up for, I did that when I first saw the unconfirmed lyrics go up on Ted Honks, and then again preparing for this episode. And I swear, y'all, I think that it's you say you want to live forever, play a little game with me, buckle in, take your spin, let it out, let it in. It's a legend. So
I think it is.
It is. Okay.
I'm with you on that. I think so.
And like, I mean, I know that's just like, nitpicky, or not nitpicky, like I don't know.
It's not nitpicky. It's just we haven't even been able to confirm. I want to shout out Garrett Dorfman right now, because he was the one who asked Rick for the lyrics to Thatch at the Osiris event. And I was like, give me that. Let me take a picture.
I saw it. Yeah.
Like, who would think Milo believes was that first line? But that is the lyric. And so I think hopefully this will be on the album. Everything Must Go. And we'll get some lyrics and some official data behind the song. Like, once they release an album, we get we get a lot more info that they have to submit to go on to streaming platforms and things. So I'm hopeful that maybe this year we'll get it on recorded and a studio version of it, which I'm just excited generally to hear what they do with it in the studio, with so much. We've heard it all only live, and it's amazing song. And Trevor gets that amazing solo, so I'm just interested to hear how it'll play out in the recording studio to bring this particular track to life. For me, like this, y'all know I call some Goose songs gospel songs, and this to me is one of their gospel songs for sure. My favorite lyric is "All that you can imagine, a universe with a view." I just love that visual aspect to the song. The lyrics are so many things you can really visualize what's being talked about. And then just the idea of warms my brain. I don't know. There's something really kinetic about that imagery again. And I'm like, wow, is that what that feeling is like? Does your brain actually feel warm? What does that mean metaphorically? And what does it mean physically for each of us as well?
Right.
And so, yeah, those are the lyrics that stick out to me. And yeah. Okay.
I definitely think they're spiritual. I think that Rick does an amazing job of being able to Rick, and I think it was Rick that wrote this song. I don't want to if Matt or who
this is a Rick song, but maybe he wrote it with somebody, but I think it was just him.
Okay, so but I think it is just an amazing thing of how he is able to put all spiritualities into it. So, no matter what religion, no matter what spirituality, no matter if you come from none, that you can still speak this, that you can still feel this, that it can still fill your cup, and you don't even realize that that's what it is. But we all need that spiritual positive feeling from the brain. And Leslie, wasn't it you or who was it that was with me, or maybe it was Jason one night, or was it talking about the chakra?
That was when we were talking about the yoga of Goose, and that Rick's lyrics so often will turn itself to imagery and words and phrases, and even he talks about your spine so often in so many of his lyrics. Same thing, just things coming through your spine and what that looks like. So I think this is one. That's why I said it falls under that list of Goose songs that are really deeply spiritual for me because of that stuff.
Right.
All right. Moving on. Goose Talk. Lex, run a show. We got a Goose Miss Run a Show that came out.
Okay. So sorry. Gotta get to my stuff. Where am I? So at Goose Miss, hold on, where am I? Sorry, y'all.
That's okay.
Okay, no, Goose Talk. So run a show of Goose Miss. Let's see. I haven't even looked. Sorry, I haven't looked. Leslie, you want to take that one?
Yes, we just wanted to let everyone know that we got a new day of show, which was episode 12 of Goose's Day of Show videos. Yes. So it's on YouTube right now. Definitely check it out. We'll have it in the show notes. I just thought it was really fun because it was the first one I'd seen that encompassed more than one show day, because it was both days of Goose Miss, and just seeing the behind the scenes, with the Santa and everything. I don't know. It was so joyful and so fun to see them. And then this was the first time I'd seen the vocal warm up of Jeff Rick on camera. So that was really cool to see as well. Just them all practicing together. And
they were hoing.
They were hoing.
For Goose Miss.
And then seeing Coach as well was really funny. And shout out to Charlie from the Atlantic, because he pops up in that video several times because he was behind the scenes with them during Goose Miss last year. So I called him. I was like, Charlie, you're in this one. You might want to check this one out because you're very much in there.
And just got me so excited for Goose Miss.
I know, really, same. I was like, oh my God.
This is going to happen again in a few months.
It sure is.
I'm going to be
around the corner. All right.
Right around the corner.
It is. Chelsea, fan out or spotlight? Over to you.
So today I wanted to highlight Sun Ray Love Jewelry by Rachel. So honestly, I've not talked to Rachel, so hope it's okay. We're shouting you out. But she posted in Goose Chick some amazing bracelets that she makes. They're metal cuff bracelets, and so they're copper, and then she puts Goose lyrics in them. So one of them was like, "This moment is the only thing you know." That would be a bracelet. She also makes like ornaments, sun catchers, and other things with Goose lyrics on her Etsy. So check her out. Her Etsy is Sunray Love Jewelry. Leslie has it up there on the screen.
Are they like copper bracelets and they're like real simple? Okay, this is not the first time you have chosen a fan artist that I actually have bought something from, but like a long time ago. So like when I saw your notes, I didn't connect that I had, but I have a Western Sun lyric cup that she made. So and it's actually like buried with like jewelry that I don't wear as often. But yeah, so thanks for reminding me about that cuff.
I want like all the bracelets. They're so cute. And I saw like she posted in Goose Chicks about, you know, her bracelets, but someone else had posted like she accidentally sent them the wrong one with the wrong lyrics. And she told them just like keep it, you know, I'll send you the right one and you just keep it. Well, that person was like, I'm gonna post in Goose Chicks and see if anyone else wants it. And ended up giving it away. So just testament to how sweet our Goose Chicks are.
Seriously. Yes.
Sharing the love.
And how much karma, like, just remember, I was talking about it with someone earlier, like, karma is for real. Like, love, spreading the love, it coming back around. It's so true. It's so real. And it can take months to happen and it can take seconds to happen. Like, you do something good. And but let's just try and remind, as Chelsea tells us, to stay Ted.
Spread love.
Spread love. And even in your worst of days, smile at someone, spread love, tell them they have a beautiful outfit, tell them they have a beautiful smile. Like, what you see, open your mouth and tell that to them, because you have no idea how much that person needs it on that day. Because I can promise you, no one's spreading love. They're spreading move, honk, you know, going on different things. So any positive thing that you have to say it. And it brings positivity to your heart. It brings positivity to others. And also say it and don't brag about it later. And then it just helps, you know, helps even more. Like, you know, just, I don't know. I think it's a great thing. And I think that we should spend a lot more. I think maybe that's something I'm going to mention every week from now on, is don't forget to say your nice thing each day, you know, one time a day, and you would not believe how much it makes yourself feel better. And so definitely do that. Meditate and say your one nice thing a day. And then who knows, it might grow to more than that, and just spreading love all over the place. And that's what we need, is love in a world full of just yelling. So let's spread love.
So on that note, people who spread love and joy, for our podcast Flow Down this time, we are talking about Dropped Among the Crowd podcast. This is a weekly podcast that digs into the music community of Humphreys McGee, and it's hosted by Sarah J., who is always spreading positivity and love, and also is very humble. So we love her. We recently did a collaboration with her where we got to talk about the sit-in at Resonance. We also we try to meet up with her at summer camp. So we just have like different connections with her, and are super happy to be able to share her podcast and the work that she does. So definitely, if you like our show, she basically has been doing the same type of setup for Humphreys McGee, only longer. And like, I swear we didn't steal her template. Like, just, you know, when women have great ideas, you know,
you know,
yeah.
Women.
And we're excited. That's going to drop on Wednesday. So be on the lookout. We had a really great conversation with Sarah. It was really fun. And we dug into a lot of stuff back and forth about both bands. The sit-in, obviously. Also, Ben's going on tour with Humphreys for this next little bit of time. So we talked a bit about that. I'm going to see her in Asheville at the shows here in North Carolina, which is exciting. So yeah, definitely check that out. You can check them out on anywhere that you get a podcast. Dropped Among This Crowd. Sarah also is the CEO of Dropped Among This Crowd Media. So she has a whole ecosystem underneath them. And
badass boss bitch.
She's another badass boss bitch.
Another manager. She does. Yeah, so she's very accomplished, and we're excited to continue conversation with her over there.
Sweet.
All right. I think that brings us to the end of the show, y'all. We did a good job. Hour and a half, just as we wanted. Follow us on socials. You can check us and follow us on socials at Goose Chicks Pod for updates and more coming up from us. On Thursday, August 24th, we have not one, but two live shows that day. The first is at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be making a special announcement with the friend of the show, Michael Basie, something we've been working on for a while.
Y'all don't miss that.
We're really excited about it. It's going to be really fun. And something for the whole community. And we've been tossing this idea around since we came up with the idea of the podcast too. So we're excited to finally unveil it for everybody. And then at 7 p.m., we are going to be continuing our Gonna Turn It Up Some series. And we're going to be having the band The Textures on to talk with us about their music. And it's been really fun doing this series, just talking to different bands. So definitely check us out again, August 24th. Chelsea, I'll let you close things out.
And side note on the Textures, they're one of the local bands and friends of mine, so I'm super excited about that episode. So everyone, make sure you're there. But thanks everyone for joining us. Be kind to each other and remember to keep it Ted.
Bye everybody.
Bye.